Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the big ideas behind how the world of money is policed. As it turns out, there are two totally different philosophies at war here.
Okay, so let's just start with the most basic question, right? Why are there so many rules for financial markets in the first place? I mean, why not just let them run free?
Well, at the end of the day, it all comes down to one simple thing: trust. Yeah, that's the foundation. Think about it. Our financial markets are basically the engine of our economies. They fuel development, they create wealth. But for that engine to run smoothly, everyone involved has to believe the system is fair and stable.
And that's exactly what regulation is trying to do. It's all about building up that confidence, making sure consumers, people like you and me, are protected. The whole point is to cut down on the risk of a total market meltdown, reduce financial crime, and just generally create a stable playground where people feel safe enough to save and invest their money.
So here's where it gets really interesting. How do regulators actually do all this? It's not like there's just one way. In fact, there are two major, kind of competing philosophies that shape how all these financial rules get written and enforced.
On one side, you have the rules-based approach. This is like getting a super detailed instruction manual. And on the other hand, you have the principles-based approach, which is more like a guiding philosophy or a mission statement. Let's really dig into what that means in the real world. All right, let's tackle the rules-based approach first. Imagine a super strict, by-the-book playbook. The regulator spells out exactly what a company has to do every single step of the way. Now, the huge upside to this is certainty. For sure, everybody knows exactly where they stand. But, and this is a big but, that same rigidity is also its biggest weakness. It's super inflexible, which means the rules can get old and outdated fast. And it can lead to this kind of tick box game, where companies are just focused on checking off boxes instead of actually doing the right thing.
Yeah, this quote just nails it. It's like having a super detailed recipe you have to follow to the letter. No room for your own judgment. So the key thing here is that compliance just means following the recipe perfectly. It doesn't even matter if the final dish is burnt. As long as you followed every single step, you're in the clear.
Okay, so let's flip the coin and look at the other side, the principles-based model. This one takes a totally different angle. It's all about the destination, not so much the specific road you take to get there. With this approach, the regulator sets these big, high-level goals. Think something like, treat your customers fairly. Simple, right? But then it's up to each company to figure out the best way to make that happen. This gives them a ton of flexibility to innovate. The catch is, they have to be able to stand up and justify their approach to prove they're actually living up to those principles.
And this is where that master chef idea comes in. It's all about the final product. The regulator doesn't really care how you cook the meal, what spices you use, or what kind of pan. All they care about is that the dish you serve at the end is absolutely fantastic. The focus is on the result, not the process. And you can see this laid out really clearly right here. It's a great side-by-side. For the rules-based model, you see phrases like a high degree of prescription and little allowance for interpretation. Then you jump over to the principles-based side, and it's all about the spirit and purpose of the whole thing. It really sums up that core tension perfectly.
So, okay, we've got these two big ideas, rules versus principles. But who's actually on the field, blowing the whistle and making sure everyone's playing by the book, no matter which book it is? Well, a lot of the time, it's actually not the government directly. It's something called a self-regulatory organization, or an SRO for short. These are pretty unique. It's basically an industry regulating itself, but with the government looking over its shoulder to make sure everything's on the up and up. A really big example of this in the US is FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. They're an SRO that oversees a huge number of financial firms. The whole idea behind this is that it can be a more nimble, more efficient way to police a really complex and fast-moving industry. And that really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? As the financial world gets crazier and more complex, we're talking about AI traders, digital currencies, the whole shebang. Which one of these models is actually built to last? Do we need the solid ground of rigid rules or the go-with-the-flow adaptability of flexible principles? There's no easy answer, but it's the central question that regulators all over the world are trying to figure out right now.